father taught me many things. He taught me, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
Hey, folks. Welcome to Kaiser's Castle. Glad you could stop by today. Take a seat on my big orange couch. Pop yourself a cold one. Chillax. What we're going to do today, I brought on Vinny from Brooklyn. But before we get to him, lecturing from an empty chair is up. The mic is up, golden mic. And I'll say a few things. While you're sitting on that big orange couch, I'm lecturing to this empty chair over here. What you see going on, me and Vinny are going to carry on with it here in a few on the show. We're going to actually do Jay's analysis. I've never seen him do it on this one movie thing. So we'll talk about that here in a minute. But everybody's seeing all the deplatforming that's going on. I've got to touch on this before we kick off. And Vinny will jump in as soon as I'm finished. This is my lecturing to an empty chair. YouTube and all of the social medias, Facebook, whatever they are, they need to start realizing more speech, not less. Because what they're going to create, when you have somebody like Black Pigeon Speaks and that little girl getting kicked off, demonetized, whatever you want to call it, you're starting to side with one side, the social Marxist, the SJWs. Once that happens and nobody has a voice, then they're going to create that weird, sticky, wet, masturbational fantasy that all these right-wing nuts have. And guess who has the guns? And some of the morons. But there's more morons on the left that think they could actually win it. It doesn't matter. It's all propaganda. This is a fact. It's being fed to you on both sides. That being said, hopefully social media will gain its common sense and its actual currency that we've given it and gain some trust back, just like the Congress needs to now. And the actual news media. Think about how much loss in trust people have gotten from them. All because they had to go on with a fake hoax of Russia influencing our elections. With that being said, sorry to take time away from you, Vinny. But today's show that we're going to do, and we're going to do it and analyze it because it's actually something I actually was a young man and watched TV and I watched the movies and I can comment on it too because Vinny jumped into Highlander. How's it going, brother?
Hey, brother, you ready? You ready to begin this? First of all, that was an excellent intro to what we're going to get into. But you ready? So let's do it. 1, 2, 3.
Here we are, born to be kings. We're the princes of the universe. Bad singing from Vinny and Shuffy. Hey, yeah. There we go, baby. But Queen did an epic soundtrack album for that. It's a kind of magic. Oh, one dream, one voice. One pride, one choice, one golden glance of what will be. It's a
It's
kind
a
of
kind of
magic.
magic.
There we
Yeah, I
go.
love
More
that
bad
song.
singing, brah. So, anyways,
Love
let's get on with it, shall we?
it.
Start
Okay, so
in
so
with
here we
your
go.
critiquing of it, brother. I will mute and enjoy, and when I have something to say, I'll unmute.
Okay, so hey, so let me go into a little Highlander rant here. Okay, so this is Highlander is okay. You guys know about my disdain for Hollywood after discovering the presence of the homosexual banking mafia. So the homosexual banking mafia is the term that I've coined that encompasses the entirety of the danger that we face. Okay, we face the danger of homosexuality destroying humanity, right? And how do they do it? They do it by controlling access to funds, which is what Shuffy was just talking about. Okay, YouTube has no role whatsoever in doing what they're doing right now. What they're doing is racketeering. That's what it is. People need to understand it. It's not you're not they're not stifling. They're not trying to cut out evil voices. Okay, because there are no evil voices involved in what they're turning off. They're turning off access to information. All right, and they're trying to tell you the only thing you get to listen to is what we tell you. So I don't understand why they call it YouTube when they're shooting out crap to you when they're trying to control the narrative.
Well, have
All
you
right,
noticed that in
yeah,
everybody who I know's feed, what they're getting right now, you could be looking. I could be watching Jim Norton and Sam Roberts show,
right.
or for comedy, because folks really, I get inundated with so much intel and traffic. I really don't watch the news and crap because I get overload. So I just go to the comedy on YouTube mostly, and except for the shows that I like, everybody knows, Boiler Room, Jay's Analysis. I've come across a new one now, which I like, which is Mojo 50, and gentleman on there, Jeremy. He's got a really good show, and Big Sarge's show, Big Sarge Media, and
Right.
also last but not least, because I gotta always give props to him, Jaffe Ryder and
That's right. Our chief
WPRPN.
communications officer.
Yeah, that's
That's
right.
right.
WPRPN, World Pirate Radio Podcast Network. And same with Biff over there, the big bloviated Zeppelin. I listen to him, and that's over there on SHR Media. But the point is, no matter what I'm watching, I get nothing but mass media coming up. CNN, Fox, PBS.
Hot garbage. Oh,
Yeah, hot garbage. And they tried this. Me and you were on a show with Jaffe that day, and he was in Korea. I had to take a screenshot. You remember this, where he's got a live show going on, and everything under his show on the suggested things after the show were kids shows.
right. The children's programming.
Yeah.
Right. We've been relegated to the children's programming level in YouTube, and now I think that's a twofold attack. First of all, you're in a place where no one who's interested in your videos are ever going to see them.
Right.
And second of all, if you have any kind of material that isn't necessarily children appropriate, that's how they get to strike your account.
Oh, yeah. The interesting thing, though, to me was Jaffe being in Korea. He didn't see any of that. He's like, I'm
No.
getting this, that, and the other. And I'm like, well, I'm screenshotting it and I'm sending it to you. And I did. And you did it too.
Yep.
And I think Svetlana did it. Another person did. I can't remember who it was. So there was 3 people who showing him. And to this day, Jaffe has a hard time believing that. And he's like, it must be what you're watching. And I'm like, really, dude? It's not in my like or watch history at all. Any of that garbage.
Right, yeah, because you've subscribed to Barney videos.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was crazy. Anyways, go on,
Well,
brother.
so the thing is, I'm going to prove that today because I have. Okay, so I participate in Past Assault Ministries in the mornings, and so I missed it this morning. I woke up late, and I had the show on before I got in with Shuffy to do this show, and as I'm watching the show, there were 15 likes on the show. in the next videos, all of a sudden I see the exact same show, the show I'm watching, and it says no views. I'm going to prove that today. After I'm done with this show, I'm going to do a video of that, a very quick video, and just show you that YouTube is up to no good.
Well,
But now
pimp your
back to
site.
Highlander.
Pimp
Yeah.
your site first, so people know where to find
Okay,
your
so
exposure of
when
it.
you go to look, look for Vinnie from Brooklyn. Okay, Vinnie from
Cool.
Brooklyn, YouTube. All right. So Highlander. So let's get right to Highlander. So Russell Mulcahy came out with this fantastic movie starring Christopher Lambert, Sean Connery, Clancy Brown, Roxanne Hart, a bunch of other good
Oh,
people.
it was a bunch of good actors. The black guy, remember him?
Right. Love it. Yeah,
it was
Castigier.
awesome. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Right. It's an awesome movie. And you see now it's even great you bring up the black guy, right? Because you see how the movie was. Racism had nothing to do with anything in the American experience. Racism was foisted upon America, okay, by the fifth column. So I will get
Marxist,
back to that.
right?
That's yeah. We're not going to worry about that now. I'm talking about Highlander. So Highlander begins, and it's awesome, right? You get to see this wrestling match. Terry Funk. I forget all the wrestlers in there, but they were all the classic kick-ass wrestlers of the time, right? So they're watching this fantastic wrestling match. We get the soundtrack from Queen. I wish I could find some place. I hope somebody will hear this and throw in a link, and maybe I would love to have the official soundtrack to Highlander because I know it exists.
I have it.
It was just you have it.
Yeah, it's called the album's called "It's a Kind of Magic."
No. That's what they released. But I want the tracks from the movie.
The only track that wasn't on. No, that's what they released, and they never made an official.
The only track was New York, right?
No,
Yeah,
that one, and the other track that's not on "It's a Kind of Magic" is One Vision. That is on another album. So that's the only those two were the only songs not on the soundtrack, which is Queen's "It's a Kind of Magic." And there was never another soundtrack made for Highlander. Never.
Too bad. All right, so you get this, right, and it's awesome, right? And then all of a sudden it shoots. Everything changes. You're not in a wrestling match anymore. You're now in medieval times, and there are these two warring factions going against each other
in Scotland
on horseback, and all of a sudden you see this monster come out of nowhere. The Black Knight, the Kurgan, played by Clancy Brown, maybe one of the greatest villain actors in media today.
Epically
right?
Awesome.
He comes out and he takes his sword and runs through the character of Connor McLeod, and he dies. See ya.
Yep. And all the women are crying. Yep.
It's a horrible moment. One of their greatest fighters taken down like that, and all of a sudden, 3 days later, he's walking around. What is going on? Is this witchcraft?
Right.
Get this guy out of here. This guy, he can't be human.
Yeah,
he's got to go. So exile him.
Yep.
You are gone, my friend. I'm sorry. So he survives.
Yep.
He survives and finds a new mate and starts a whole new family.
Yep.
Then the movie comes back to the present time, and we see that he's wait a minute, I got to get out of here, and he runs down to the parking lot where he's faced with a guy with a sword. Where's this guy? What's going on here? This is kind of weird. All of a sudden, he pulls out a sword. Hey, what the heck is going on? Wait a minute, this is Madison Square Garden.
Right.
Why are two guys fighting with swords under Madison Square Garden? And then one guy gets his head cut off. And then all of a sudden, all this weird stuff happens. Wow, this is fantastic, right? What a great movie! What a great movie! And then I could bore you with going through Highlander, but everyone who's seen Highlander knows how fantastic it is.
Oh yeah,
right. So then all of a sudden we hear about a Highlander 2. Oh yeah, Highlander 2. Wait a minute, you can make this better? You can make this whole thing better? How is that possible? So everyone waits.
Wait. Yeah. In order for this to be, for the people who haven't seen the movie, you have to talk about the ending so that
Oh yes,
Highlander 2,
I
you'll
think I'm giving
see.
a short script.
Yeah,
Yes,
yes.
yes, of course I am. Of course I am.
Tell
Oh.
about a little bit. Just touch on the fights and then the
Okay,
ending.
right. So
Yeah.
let me get into the movie because the people who haven't seen Highlander are going, well, what's so great about this effing movie? I'll tell you what's great about this movie.
And
Yeah,
the point of the movie, brother. The point that at the end you discover what the whole when we said born to be kings, what that actually meant and what there can be only one actually meant.
right. So these guys, there's a select few who were selected to choose to embody the fate of mankind. So it could have been the Black Knight, it could have been the Kurgan, it could have been Castigear, it
Yep.
could have been Connor McLeod.
Yep.
But they all have to fight for it, and the only way and the only thing, this is what you have to do: you have to cut off the head of your opponent,
Yeah,
and you receive their power.
and a lot of these dudes became friends, but they all knew at some point they would have to
At some
match
point,
up.
they would all have to fight for the prize.
Exactly.
And so, through the centuries, they had hollow ground, which were churches. So you couldn't find a church,
Right.
but anything else was fair game.
Right.
And so, so they had honor. No one ever snuck up on anyone else and just cut their heads off, because I guess you could do that, but that wouldn't be honorable, and it's possible that would disqualify you from receiving the prize.
Probably.
That was never really established, but we'll go with that for now.
Right.
So they throughout the centuries, they gathered, they fought, and it got winnowed down to this select few, which are pretty much the guys who were in the film.
Yeah, the guys that you meet during the time. I mean, you see the graphic death after the Kurgan comes again to kill Connor, but because Connor was away, he thought that Sean Connery's character, you go on about him, because Sean Connery's the one who introduced him to the rules
To
of
the
the
whole
game.
concept.
Yeah.
Because understand, right, when we first see Connor McLeod, he has no idea that there's anything special about him. All he knows is that he came back to life from some kind of weird wound. He knows he was wounded very badly, but he doesn't realize that he died from that and was reborn. And so when Sean Connery encounters him when he's with Heather, and he introduces him to the fact that he is an immortal. He takes him sailing. He drowns him, and he realizes that he doesn't die. He says, "Okay, I got it. Now there's something weird about me." And he introduces him to the concept of the quickening, which is simply an attuning of himself with everything around him.
And Sean Connery also tells him that he was an Egyptian. Now imagine that. So how many centuries had passed? And so in the show, they're setting it up that these people are being born at certain intervals and they all meet at certain times. And he talks even about the Kurgan's backstory.
Yes.
And then, when Heather and Sean are together and the Kurgan shows up.
Yeah, so the Kurgan shows up when Ramirez, that's the character that Sean Connery is named.
Yep.
Ramirez is with Heather, and Ramirez mistakes Heather for Ramirez's wife, and kills Ramirez after a decent battle, but he kills him
And rapes her.
And then he rapes Heather.
Yep.
We don't find that out until later in the movie when Connor encounters the Kurgan in the church, and he admits to raping Heather, but unknowingly, not knowing that she was Connor's wife and not Ramirez's.
Right.
So that's the be all and end all. It's like, listen, I should just take you here, but you can't do it. So they set themselves up, and they end up in Silver Cup Studios in Long Island City.
Yep. Baddest
That's where
fight
the final
scene
battle
ever.
takes place. And this battle, this is just awesome. This is what movies were made for.
Yep.
This climatic battle, Silver Cup Studios, their emblemic sign, destroyed in the battle. Well, of course, not for real.
It's raining.
It's raining. I mean, it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. This is why people go to movies, not this crap that they put out now.
Brother, it was Man World. It was two men meeting to settle a score on a rooftop, rain coming down, shittiest conditions you'd ever want to fight
This doesn't
in.
get any better. Man.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any better.
Yeah, sloshing, slugging it out, no holes barred, and go on, brother. Keep roll this end up, and what happens? Because, by the way, to clue everybody in, all these guys meet women, and Ramirez told him she's gonna die, and it will destroy you.
Right.
And so these guys are still mating with women, even though they can't have offspring. But part of the prize is they'll be able to have offspring, and they'll be able to have a happy life with a woman finally. And he develops feelings for this woman during this turbulent time.
Yes. That's a character played by Roxanne Hart. Heather, I forget what her name is in the movie.
I can't either, but she was a badass looking bitch. But I liked Heather more because I liked that long, kinky hair with the girls and blondes. Oh my goodness, I love them.
That might have been the only woman I think in Hollywood that didn't have a man ass when they showed it.
Right.
To tell you the truth, I've always loved that little scene right after right after she understands that he's an immortal, when she proves it, where he stabs and they're in the library. He has this excellent circular library, and she walks around with him in it, and he takes out a dagger and stabs himself fatally, and then he doesn't die, and she realizes that yes, he's an immortal, and they have this quick little love scene right before things get crazy.
And
this is right before,
and all the stuff that he's collected over the years, was actually collected by him.
Yeah.
And so she's like a historian and can't believe all the armor and the stuff that he's got. And his cover is actually as an ancient arms dealer, that kind of stuff.
Right, he rescues artifacts.
Yes,
that's right.
Artifacts. Yeah.
And that's right. That's a funny thing. That's his cover. And then what happens? Well, she tries to infiltrate. She tries to sneak in him, and he's so savvy that he figures out her completely. He invites her to dinner. She comes. She invites him to dinner. He comes in and gives her a present of the book that she's written.
Right.
Right. On being a police forensic assistant.
Yeah, she's trying to.
Using it's the movie is so well crafted that that when I start telling you about Highlander 2, you should get a bucket because you'll end up throwing up.
Oh, it will, because the awesome part is she is trying to figure him out. She is like convinced because of the blade. They analyzed the blade. The blade's an actual 12th century Japanese blade.
Where the metal was folded over 200 times.
Yep, in the classical sense. I mean, I had a Japanese girlfriend get me a set, a wakizashi, a tanto, and a katana.
Awesome.
And it would date to the 80s if you carbon tested it, because it was a lot of money that girl spent to give me that gift. I still have those today.
Yeah, and you know what you can do with those swords, right? You could probably take out a bunch of stuff with those things because the metal is so strong.
Well, no, I'm saying it's the craftsman. It's been in their family for centuries.
Yes.
But the craftsmen with those swords, they were expensive then. I can't believe he's now dead, and he's got his stamps on them, every blade, and the way he did his final, and his family's legendary. He's probably got a kid that's carrying it on, but it's his mark that's on the blade. He's probably dead because I know how old he was back in. Oh well, this wouldn't be the 80s. I just lied to you. It would have been 91 to 92 when I dated Rena. So, anyways, the point being is, those blades would date back to there. The stamps are on there, and they're worth a lot of money. And the way he did his final cooling, he had a stream out back, And for all final coolings, he would do. This is after he tempered everything perfectly. He'd do a final cooling, which didn't go as hot as I guess they normally do to temper it. I don't know the whole process, but I guess he cools it in the stream out back when the leaves are flowing through the stream. And as soon as the leaf is cut by the sword, that's when it's ready to be, sold.
Right. So you understand, people. Okay, metal. Okay, folding metal doesn't mean that you pour metal into a mold and you have a sword. No, you have the metal and you flan it out and you constantly reflan it until that sword cannot be broken. Basically.
Right. They're very difficult to break.
That's all involved. Because listen, you're a samurai. This is your life. This is your lifeline. This weapon. You can't have that sucker break in the middle of a battle because that's it for you. You're done.
Right.
So you have to have a weapon of renown and strength.
Oh yeah, and I'm no samurai. Trust me. This was a gift from a girl who I dated my time in Japan, and she really liked me, and we just happened to.
Did she ever call you sensei?
Well, no, she called me a lot of things, but not that.
Oh,
but
I just throw in a fun.
I know. We actually met. It's funny how we met. I asked her for the time. I was walking down the street, and I'm like, "What time is it?" And I had a watch on my wrist, dude. It was so gay. And she goes, "Oh, Gaijing." And her friend are laughing, and I actually wanted to scheme on her friend. I'm not lying. And her friend was badass, and Rena was good looking, whatever. But I found out a lot about Rena after we got together. I'm not going to get into who her dad was.
I had the same kind of adventure, brother.
Yeah,
we were doing that same thing. Me and a buddy, we went to the screening room in New York City, and there were two women came in after a parade. And we were both gunning for the first one. I know with the second one, it worked out. It worked out great anyway. Yeah.
Sometimes but this is just me on the street with two girls. So I was shocked that the other girl spoke no English, but Rena did. And I found out why, because of who her father was and stuff. But it's irrelevant. Anyways,
it's a good story
the point is the girl had a lot of money, and she bought me the swords.
That's awesome, brother.
And
what a keepsake.
Yeah. Oh shit! I sent those home with the quickness, certified. And she was like, "Where's the swords?" I'm like, "I got a stand for them, everything. All the color of them all match. It's like a maroon, the scabbards, and the stand matches the scabbards. Oh yeah, oh yeah." But anyways, we've gone too long on that. But go on with, so she's gotten on to him by that. So she's trying to figure out, how can this guy have this much old shit?
Right.
Yeah.
And then they eventually figure out that Russell Nash, which is Connor McLeod's name in the movie, his signature bears a striking resemblance to a bunch of other dead people.
Yes.
And they match his signature in the movie. And they pretty much substitute all the letters to make Russell Nash made out of these old signatures, and it's a perfect match.
Yeah, and that's when she's clued in.
And that's when she goes, "Oh, wait a minute! I'm sure a guy who's been around for a bunch of centuries. What's going on here?"
Yeah. Even one of the founding documents of the nation, they find his signature on.
Right.
I can't remember which one that was.
So think about this, right? So all of these elements that we've mentioned, this is all just one movie, all right? And from beginning to end, it's just awesomely done. I even had the director's cut, and the director's cut had an extra scene where Rachel, the woman who works with him, was about to be shot and about to be killed by a bunch of Nazi soldiers, and he saves her.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, I had that too. Can't believe that. And
so she was
scene that was cut out. That's why Rachel adores him so much.
Was she one of them then?
No, she was just she was an old woman. She was a baby when she was rescued.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know that. I've never seen the director's cut. Now I'm gonna have to buy that. Thanks, guy.
Yeah,
You just cost me
definitely.
money. Love you.
Yeah, you
Hmm?
gotta get that. It's got some great stuff in it. Just great little additions to the movie. And I think he did the right thing by taking that part out of the movie. It kind of throws you off because it's like one of those little notes to the Holocaust and all that other stuff, you know.
Oh yeah. I got you.
So, but nonetheless, it's a good scene and you should see it, you know. So all this stuff, I mean, all these elements in this movie, it's so well done. Then you have to look at Highlander 2. Oh, I mean, where do I begin with this? First of all, now you notice I made a big deal about the soundtrack, right? Well, I wasn't the only one who loved the soundtrack. The people who ripped off the concept of Highlander to make Highlander 2 loved it so much that they replayed the entire soundtrack through the movie. Now, it's nice to hear the music again,
Yep.
but the visuals don't do it justice. They don't do it justice. First of all, here's
Well,
the biggest crime of Highlander 2.
did you explain how it ended with him and her
Oh yeah,
finally?
right.
Yeah.
I keep glossing over that. Right. So okay. So the fight back in Highlander. I go back to Highlander. The fight back in Highlander. He's overpowering Connor for the most part, and all of a sudden, he gets like a second wind, and so it's like, you're just a piece of evil cheese, and I'm gonna take you out now. He's like, yeah, get out of here, Highlander. I'm the Kurgan. There's nothing you can do about me. I'm the biggest. I'm the baddest.
An
I'm the
elitist.
motherfucking cheese. All right, And all of a sudden, Connor just starts kicking ass. He starts doing like little Zorro things on him. He's like, hey, what's going on here? Why you killing me? You're killing me.
Right.
And eventually he gets him by the neck and cuts off his head. Bam! And all of a sudden, all of that power that the Kurgan had accumulated throughout the centuries, all of a sudden starts dancing around, and Connor is the one. He is the one, the only one.
And he says
And he
there
just
can
wins
be
the prize.
when he kills the Kurgan, his last words.
There can be only one.
He doesn't even yell it. He just, but the way it verbalizes.
I had to do it like that because I got no one in the house. I get to know them.
Okay, then yell away. Hopefully your mother's doing well from the surgery. But the point is, he says, you hear him say it. You hear everybody who fights somebody say there can be only one, and it's always like in a normal tone. And they get lifted, all the power surges into them, whatever. This one was epic. When he says it, there's like an echo that's inserted, and he's like, "There can be only one." And he gets lifted, and like you said, you see every body that now these two have every soul in theirs, all the power from the other ones, and it lifts him up higher than any of the other ones. And then I'll let you tell the ending after I tell it, but it ends with him and that girl in a car, and they're having a picnic where he grew up. So you're under the illusion he's telling her, this is where I went in my life. And
that's right. He brought her through his entire life and says, look at this. It's like a full circle. I started here. And now I'm ending here, but I'm ending it with you.
Right.
What a gorgeous ending, right? What a beautiful ending.
Because the gift was he's now mortal.
Yeah, that's right. He can live his life now. No, he's no longer a tool. He can be a human.
He can have kids. He can live a life. Yep.
He can die.
Yeah, and die. Yeah.
Right? So that's how Highlander ended, right? So did Hollywood say, "Hey, we made a good movie. We're gonna leave well enough alone"? No. This is what they did with that whole story. So forget Highlander now, right? Because now all those guys were aliens.
Right.
They were aliens from the planet Zeist, who can only die if you cut their heads off. They're not magical beings anymore. They're not this immune system that the Earth created, or any kind of thing like that. They're aliens from some stupid planet who can only die if you cut off their heads or something stupid like that.
And all of a sudden you have the
What?
skateboard, the air
Yeah.
skateboard guys, all these freak show people showing up.
You hear me hitting my head right now?
Oh, I do. Dude,
What? Leave
Dude,
it alone.
dude.
It was perfect. Why did you mess with it?
I'm
Why
slapping-
did you mess with it, you
I'm
greedy,
slapping the
stupid
table.
bastards?
I'm
What the?
Yep.
Wow.
And
Wow.
the stupidest part is he's an old man who solved the problem, the quote-unquote problem of global cooling
Oh.
by putting this little thing up, and it's turned the world black and dark and gray and dingy.
Oh.
Because
Oh,
he got all the knowledge, and then what happens? He's an old man. They return to Earth. What happens to him then? This is the total retardation of it.
Oh, listen! I didn't even listen. You tell me. I didn't even want to. The movie disgusted me so much. I can't even get through it.
Now he's a young man again.
Oh, how did that happen?
Yeah. What was the thing about that? What happened?
Oh. What the hell? I mean, just you
got to
okay,
explain
you know
it
what?
to me, because honestly, I've never looked at it this way, and you break down movies almost as good as Jay's analysis, but most of them, even when he's talking, unless he goes older, I have no clue what he's talking about because I don't analyze it with the eyes that you and he do. And I would say that you're as good as he is, but I'd actually love if Jay ever had you on his show.
Well, maybe we'll do that one of these days. But let me tell you this. Listen, I can't explain it because meth wasn't. I think meth wasn't created back then, right? So what excuse do they have to come up with this story?
Oh, meth.
I don't get it.
Meth has been around since World War II, man. They had the Germans, actually. That's why they have the German method of making meth.
Oh, actually, well, you know
yeah.
what I found out, actually? You know what I found out? And this is a slight tangent, but it's very important to get this out. That it turns out that I think that crack was invented back in the 30s in Germany.
Might have been.
Because I found out from Black Pill, one of the accounts that YouTube got rid of,
Yep.
that the prostitutes during the Weimar Republic, during the 30s in Germany, all the prostitutes were hooked on cocaine capsules that they got for
Crack.
five Deutschmarks. Basically, exactly, that's what it was.
Yeah.
That's what it was. So we are right now reliving
Weimar Germany. Yep. I see it too.
Because here's the other parallel. We were talking about Hitler burning books. He wasn't burning literature. He was burning pornography.
Yep. And it was
He was burning pornography, people. Understand that.
It was the degeneracy of Weimar that put they had a Strasse, a street, and as you went down that street or those different streets, you could find pregnant women, gimps, women that didn't have all their appendages, legs or arms or something. Just all kinds of weirdness, and even families were prostituting themselves. And there's a movie out about it. I can't remember the name of it, but it's disgusting to watch. There's a general from World War One, and he and his family did stuff together. I mean, it was just debauchery, degeneracy that I can't believe, you couldn't believe. But did you hear? Okay, we're going to digress for a second off this.
Why not? No, yeah,
but
why not? Yeah.
You heard about the two lesbian women in
yes,
Australia?
Yes, the 9-year-old
New
kid.
Zealand?
Okay, you ready, guys?
Yeah.
You want to do this?
Yeah, we're going to have to, just to explain the degeneracy. Unfortunately, they've adopted a son, but they wanted a daughter, and they couldn't afford to have
an actual surgery,
so they decided to do it at home. No, it's Brazil. It's Brazil or something.
In Brazil.
Yeah.
So they took a Ginsu.
Yep.
And they chopped off his member.
And he
died. They fashioned a vagina out of what was left.
But he died during the procedure.
Of course he. No. He didn't die from that. He died a year later. He died a year later. Because someone in child services were actually doing their job as opposed to placing kids with a bunch of freaks to be molested and murdered. He was actually trying to find out what happened to this boy, and eventually they stabbed him to death to cover up the fact that they mutilated him.
So that's how it came.
They
Okay.
stabbed him to death, brother.
Okay. Well, that's even more bizarre. But anyways, my point still stands. They killed him.
They killed him.
And it wasn't him. I mean, it doesn't matter. The point is, we're seeing that sickness going on with. Anyways, I didn't know Black Pill had been banned. I know that Black Pigeon Speaks got banned, and neither of them had anything that should have been banned. I didn't see hate speech in any of their stuff.
Not
that's crazy.
It's truth, and that's why he's gone. Because once again, I have to bring up pawn breaking our culture. If you've never seen that movie, well, first of all, you probably want to see The Pawnbroker. But if you've never seen The Pawnbroker, watch that first. Then watch The Pawnbroker and see all of that filth and degeneracy hit you in the face. Yep. It's 1 hour and 55 minutes, but it's a film that destroyed America. I need to let you all know that.
There was another one that I unfortunately watched, and I couldn't believe it, and I told my wife about it. I heard about it on our radio podcast that I listened to. I'm not going to bring up that podcast, but I'm not ashamed of it, but it was mentioned on it. Anyways, so I looked at it, and you'll find it on YouTube. It's called The Gift. I couldn't believe this, and my wife couldn't believe it.
Yeah, The Gift.
It's where people are gift givers and gift takers. And that's where...
And what's the gift, guy? Tell them.
The gift is they want to be HIV positive.
They want the alien-inflicted death sentence.
So they don't have to worry about it anymore. They can be as degenerate. And during it, these people are talking about the different things they like to do.
Yes, I got the gift.
My wife couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. But, whatever. It is what it is. It's a sickness. But the point is, let's get back to Highlander. So we've talked about the degeneracy, and I want you to go in on how Highlander, we talked about how all of a sudden global cooling was solved, but now they got this little shield up that Connor, because of all the centuries of knowledge are in him, he helped design. And then the aliens return, whatever. And so the game starts up again somehow.
If you can believe that. So first of all, they've completely invalidated the first movie altogether. Now the first movie doesn't exist anymore because all of a sudden there's a whole new crop of guys you need to cut their heads off.
Right.
What was that? What was that all about?
Yeah.
I mean, who was the dullard who said that? Hey, we had a fantastic first movie. Let's ruin it by making a sequel to completely destroy it altogether.
And had a bunch of early social justice messages.
Yeah.
But here's something that did have some redeeming value. Then a TV show came out called Highlander.
Yes, it was Adrian Paul, who's fantastic.
That was stellar. But remember, the first one, Connor was an older man, not as old as he is now or whatever. Or he was at the end. So this sort of puts it back into the same time frame. And it's about his cousin, whatever McLeod. I can't remember the name they used for Connor's cousin. But his last name was McLeod.
Yes.
And his adventures. And that actually was a good spinoff. It
was a great spinoff. They did a great job with that show, I must say. Like I said, Adrian Paul was fantastic. He had a good mentality and maintained the whole idea of being a McLeod.
Exactly, and so did all the villains and stuff. It was really well put together, and I know people just watch that series. That series is worth it. The second Highlander, if you want to watch it just to see what we're talking about, I don't even want to get into how it ends and stuff. I mean, it was that poorly done.
Oh, it's just stupid. The whole thing is stupid. Look it up on Wikipedia. I say don't torture yourself by watching this movie, because if you've seen Highlander, it'll just destroy it for you. This is hot garbage.
Yeah.
It's complete
So
hot garbage.
so the best advice from both of us is to watch Highlander, then watch, and it probably won't cost that much to get the Highlander miniseries or whatever you want to call it series on TV, because it was actually well put together. Now I have a spinoff from that.
Yes.
That's not Highlander now. We're talking about a
That's
whole
fun.
different
We can
thing.
talk about it. Yeah, I got my Highlanders stuff out, so we got some fun though.
But here's another fantasy one that was actually pretty good. Back in the day, I would come home from work. I was working nights. I was a union iron worker. This is in the 90s. There was a film out, or not a film, but a series. I think it was on, trying to remember where it was on, but it was late night. And so they would put a lot of goofy stuff on. And it's like an 80s, 90s movie. And it was called Forever Night. And what?
Forever Night. I remember that.
Yeah.
I think I remember that. Yeah. You go ahead.
Yeah, he was a police officer who actually was a vampire.
Right.
And he was trying to repay his debt to society. And that was also a well put together series that I think really gets a lot of overlook, because it's fantasy, but that was back in the day. What's that bitch's name that made all those vampire books? Got famous doing it from Louisiana.
Stephanie Meyer.
No, she's from Louisiana. Got some.
Oh no, Anne Rice, you mean?
Anne Rice, yep.
Right.
Named. I was about to say named after a food. Yeah, I couldn't remember her name, but I remember she had to. But yeah, so this actually was a good film. Well, not film, but a series about something.
Right, Interview with a Vampire. Right. No, I read Interview with a Vampire, not Vampire Lestat. I like the Interview with a Vampire.
Yeah. Well, I didn't.
Lewis.
I didn't see that movie. I just saw Forever Night. I never saw any of those. It just didn't turn me on.
I read the book. I never saw Vampire Lestat and all that crap. I know about it, but no.
Yeah, it was just funny. I would get off work at about that time. I think it was on second shift, and we were doing a project here in Ohio. It was called Marinova in Columbus. We were building that, I think, and so we were working different shifts. And it might have been the Blue Jacket Arena. I can't remember which one. Anyway, so this is before I went into my first federal agency or anything. I'm still going to college. An this thing, as soon as I got home, it would be on. And I just watched it. And I was like, this is well put together. I liked the way it was put together. There was an actual meaning behind it. There was an autopsy girl that became his girlfriend. She's trying to get him out of being a vampire. I mean, the whole thing was good, and there was the ending was sad, and it was a hero's journey, but the ending was sad, and it was almost hopeless. Well, it was hopeless, actually, but it made sense. And that's another thing Hollywood and television have lost, is that if you're going to make something, there has to be an ending that actually fits. Game of Thrones ending, do not go into it because a lot of people haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I didn't have heartburn, honestly, about Arya killing the Night King because of the way it happened. But I did have heartburn over the way it ended in one way that I thought it would. But in the other way, I didn't think who would sit as king, because honestly, we all know that, Hot Pie is now the king forever of Westeros. And that's all I'll say on that. And you know what I'm saying, tongue firmly in cheek.
Yep,
so,
there you go.
Yeah, I just gave away the ending. But no.
That's good. So here we go. Listen, another thing I wanted to get onto was this woke crap, right? So we got Captain Marvel, which I can riff on, and we have this Batwoman thing, which I think I think is cratering. It's cratering.
It is.
It's this whole thing. I don't know if have you seen the very last the very last trailer that they put out with the
Brother,
the homeless girl.
brother, when you go MCU, it's all you, baby, because
Oh,
I've watched a couple in the series, and the few I've watched, a couple of them I've liked, but most of them I haven't. Like the first Iron Man video that I watched, I liked that. And then the second one, I was like, halfway through it, I'm done. I tuned out. And then the whole whatever happened with this whole fight thing, that whatever it was, I'm not a fan. I didn't see
hey,
it.
are you ready for this?
And
You know my favorite scene in
wait.
Iron Man 2 is?
You want to hear about this first before you do that?
Yeah. Okay.
Because you brought it up.
Yep.
One of the T-shirts they sold at the PX was the Wakanda face mask, whatever, for that guy.
Oh no.
And then it would say Afghanistan. I'm sorry, not Iraq, but Afghanistan. And it would say Kandahar, Afghanistan. And I was like, what?
Yeah, scary, isn't it?
But they were shelf warmers, dude. I mean, you saw a few people wearing them, and that's another thing. Trying to, and on the back, I think it said Wakandia forever or some shit. I was like, huh?
It was a clown show,
Yeah.
brother. It's a clown show.
I didn't get it.
I'll tell you. See, my favorite scene in Iron Man 2, you're gonna laugh at this. It was Sam Rockwell dancing when he comes out. He comes out to the music. I think it's old Herbie Hancock song.
I don't know who that was. Who's Sam Rockwell, bro?
Sam Rockwell is playing Justin Hammer, right? So they have the whole big show. This is before all the robots go to attack the World Fair.
Is that the black gentleman?
No, it's the financier, the guy who took Whiplash and gave him all these weapons so he could attack Stark.
Well, honestly, I probably
You don't remember the character exactly.
I probably toned out. Yeah.
Right, but what I'm saying is, I wasn't that impressed with Iron Man 2. Iron Man 1 was good because it was the first one and they got it right, And then what they did was Terrence Howard I preferred as Rhodey, right? They had an actual chemistry, but he made the mistake of thinking that chemistry was going to give him longevity in the movie, because as far as Hollywood is concerned, one black guy is equal to another black guy. So they just took Terrence Howard out when he asked for more money and put in Don Cheadle, who has no chemistry whatsoever with Robert Downey Jr. None.
Yep.
None. They didn't even look like they were friends. How was it that this guy is trusted to have an Iron Man suit?
Right.
Yeah. But they don't care because Hollywood niggers is niggers. Who cares?
Right.
It's just it's just the truth. The truth hurts. Go buy Painkiller. What am I going to do about it?
Being said by a black man. So
yes.
Who gives a shit, right? Yeah, exactly. and that's another thing. Anyways.
And I think that shouldn't be. I shouldn't have any more license to say it to anybody else. What do you think about that?
No, I get that, but I'm just saying it's kind of ironic that this is the culture we're now in. I mean, I've told you this is offline, but everybody at my school knows we used to either be brobillies or hillbillies.
Yeah.
And that was humor. And when you look, there's certain comedy. I'll still listen to Opie and Anthony. I'll still listen to Anthony Cumia. I listen to Jim Norton and Sam Roberts. Bill Burr. All the old school guys from the 80s. I like Bobby. All those guys, man.
Norm Macdonald.
Yep. But it's because they're still
funny.
They're still funny. The new comics, and I'm sorry, man.
This
is gonna grate on a lot of people, but honestly, comedy that a woman does, there's been a couple, 3 or 4 in my lifetime that have been absolutely hilarious. But as soon as it makes as much sense. Like if I'm just talking about my dick, That's going to be not funny in so long because, as half Sicilian, that half is in my lower half. Dude, brothers fucking are embarrassed when I fucking have to be in the gym with them. But that's all bullshit too.
Exactly.
It's not funny. So when a woman's talking about a vajayjay, that's
Well, it smells like a barn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Oh
doesn't.
wow, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It's not humorous.
No,
And
it's disgusting.
they always go with that. Yeah, and
Because that's what they call comedy, brother. So what I wanted to say was I want to start a whole new thing. I want to start neo comedy. I looked this up already to see if the term was already used, and it's not. So we're taking it now. Neo comedy. We're going to bring comedy back. We're going to make comedy great again.
We're bringing back.
What do you think about that?
Hot attack.
I snuck in the whole thing. I snuck in the whole thing. It started as a movie critique, but we're taking comedy back because we want comedy to be funny again for everybody.
This is the Neo act. Taking the Neo comedy back. Yeah,
Stealing it back, baby! Stealing it, yeah.
That's it. And I just bit somebody's song. I'm bringing sexy back. I can't remember who did it, but you know the tune I was doing.
One of those talentless freaks.
Yeah, exactly. and I'm talentless too, so it's equal, brother.
Hey, what are you talking about, brother? You are a great talent. You guys didn't hear us singing in the beginning? Here we are.
Born, horribly.
Actually, listen. I love Queen. I can sing Queen like a mother. You know.
Oh, I sing it great in the shower. I sing it great in my car. But I'm sure
this is a kind of magic.
Yeah, I'm just the horrible.
I'm
I'm just able to accept that I'm the only one who likes my voice. But the point being, man, is that man, I mean, that's the whole point. We're going to try to bring some comedy back.
No, we're bringing it back. We've already brought comedy back, but the thing is, we have to tell everyone that this is what it is. It's neo comedy, neo-comedy. We're going to make comedy great again. We're going to make comedy funny again.
Hell yeah!
No more of this dowdy Trump bashing garbage, which is not funny. None of it is funny.
It's a cheap sell because
it's all cheap. Yes, it's just cheap.
It's hackery.
Cheap giggles. Right. Exactly.
It's so hack. It's hilarious to me whenever
anytime Dick or Leroy can go up there and go Trump's orange. Get out of here. Yeah. That's not humor. Get out of here. It's something funny.
My vagina grabs back. Well, it does. When my cock's inside, any vagina is going to grab back.
Yeah,
it's retarded. It's the nature of how it's built. But the point is that they just it's such
they're pathetic.
It's such fuckery that's afoot, and it really saddens me that now there were great jokes written about Bush Jr., Bush Sr., Reagan, Carter. Great bits that were thrown out there, even about Clinton.
Yeah.
About Obama, kinda. But everybody was really touchy about him.
The media, right? The media was going to get all butthurt if anyone said anything about the magic Negro.
Right. But the funniest part is
magic my ass. The only thing magic about him is how he was able to fool America that he was an American.
Well, anyways, whatever. But my point is that with Trump, they're not even being imaginative. There's been no imagination.
No.
There's been some good people that can
Orange Man bad.
Look like him. No, I'm saying there's been some good people that can look and talk like him, mimic him.
Right.
And I can say that, but the jokes always fall lame. Because it's like it's not even factual. I mean, it's always Russian collusion delusion. And it's just not funny.
Hey, you know what happened the other day? Some guy was trying to blame the four guys who were attacked in 2017. I think two of the killed people were named Johnson, the surnames. And this guy, this tool tries to put that on Trump like Benghazi is on the Pantsu War Pig.
Well, the
What
pants.
correlation does that have? That because he was a president, those 4 guys dead. That they're on him. How is that the same as Benghazi?
Well, it's that false narrative they're trying to push.
Right, exactly right.
Everybody who voted for Trump's a Nazi, obviously. I mean, it's so retarded, man.
Hey, Shuffy, I'm sorry. I gotta go away for a second. I gotta go goose step.
Yeah.
The hell. Yeah, Nazis.
Hey, that brings me back. We were talking about a show. Did you ever watch it? It was called Mother Night. Me and you talked about it offline. You were going to watch it. If not, I'll end it right there.
Let's end it right there because I probably didn't get to it, unfortunately.
Okay.
Now I'm writing it down. So next time we're getting into it. Okay. Next show will be about Mother Night.
Yeah, Nick Nolte was in it. So Nick Nolte, Mother Night.
Love Nick Nolte.
Yeah,
he's another good one.
And the other
remember that movie, him in Powers Booth, a long time ago.
Oh yeah. When he
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. The other one was one that I told you to check out was Apt Pupil.
No, Apt Pupil. I didn't get to that one either yet.
Okay.
But I know that's less important. But it was a good point. No, I brought that up. I did bring that up to somebody else, so they got to it.
Okay, cool. So just try to check those out because those would be funny ones to break down because those are actually ones I've watched.
Absolutely.
I like you doing the MCU. I just honestly have.
No, I don't blame you because I'm not that enamored
Hollywood
with
shit
either.
now.
I like it. I love the Avengers because they did a good job on that, right? But Age of Ultron, crap. Because listen, I know the characters. I told you I had 15,000 comics. I think they've all been eaten by rats now, unfortunately. But 15,000 comics enabled me to understand what the characters were about, and they changed all the characters to fit the MCU for Hollywood. So they screwed up a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm not impressed at all by the MCU films. Besides Avengers.
Well, it's just like they were gonna do Sergeant Rock back in the 80s or 90s.
And why did they do that?
Sergeant
Rock would have been an easy film to do, right?
They didn't do that. They didn't do Weird War. They also were talking about doing a Viking Commando. These are the comics I read, to be honest. To be very honest. And they definitely tried with Sergeant Fury. And honestly, they really got that wrong, too.
Of course they did. They screwed it all because they screwed up everything.
Yeah.
Because it's Hollywood.
It's bizarro how they, the globalist, or what do you call it, the globo-homo elite of Hollywood.
The homosexual banking mafia, right.
How they will pervert and destroy something that has good context, good content. And the content, honestly, if you just stayed, you could buy every comic book in a series and probably make a good movie out of what's the terminologies, the stuff, because a lot of those comic books were being written, maybe the people writing them weren't vets, but they knew people who were vets in the Second World War. And they would tell a story, and it would be incorporated, and you could tell there's some flow, there's some functionality. And that's back in the 70s and early 80s. You had 2 Punisher movies that were absolutely excellent. And unfortunately, the first one was horrid.
Yeah, well, you know what, Steve? Once again, this was the whole thing. See, what I was going to do was go into a whole rant on all kinds of facets of Hollywood, but that would take obviously too long. But the first Punisher film, if you remember with Dolph Lundgren, Hollywood exec says, nobody would walk around with a shirt with a skull on. So the only skulls we had in the movie were on the ends of his knives.
On the ends of his knives. And now, here's the other thing that's funny. But the premise of it was absolutely outstanding. I liked the team up of him and the guy, I can't think of his name now. He was a famous actor. Louis Gossett Jr.
Right, yeah, Louis Gossett Jr.
Yeah. That was a good, you could actually buy into them being former partners and stuff. That was put together really well.
Right.
I have to say that actually but then the subplot
Yeah,
of
but I don't
him.
give Hollywood any credit for that because I give the actors credit for
Oh,
working together.
oh yeah,
See, Hollywood gets some credit for that. Screw them.
oh yeah. Dolph Lundgren's made some really good movies, and he's done a couple pickles.
Class act.
Yeah,
Yep.
but him and the Expendables, all the episodes he was in, he was all right. It really depends on the kind of people you put with them.
Right.
I think the two best renditions of it that kept true to it, first off, was the second one with Jane. I can't
Thomas
think
Jane.
Thomas
Yeah.
Jane.
Did a great job. I like Thomas Jane.
That
Really
was
good
a
guy.
good beginning to it, where you saw how it actually happened, and that's what they said even in the first one. You know, the comic book. I remember that back in the day. It was a Spider-Man, if I remember right. And
Yes. Amazing Spider-Man 129.
yeah, and he was explaining to Spider-Man how he was actually hired to kill Spider-Man. So, anyways, that was a good one. We're just going to glance over this because we actually should do an in-depth on all three of them. But because we're going to have to cut this short because it's going to take forever to upload.
Yeah,
But-
I know. I realize
but
we're going long. But
Yeah, we're now at an hour 6 minutes, so whatever. But then the third one with that one guy, and I honestly don't know his name, and it's not out of bad thought, but that one actually really brought up Tim Bradstreet. I think is the comic guy who did all the
Tim
later
Bradstreet is
Punishers.
an awesome artist. He's awesome.
Awesome,
That guy
and
is
that
fantastic.
that film realized those comic books to a fucking T. There was a lot of unrealism bullshit in it, but honestly, it was a good film.
Exactly.
And there was a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so there's just something that's happened now. I would hate to see what the Punisher would look like now. You couldn't make, a matter of fact, we need to do this. From Miami Vice, the television show, to Miami Vice, the movie, when it finally came out, how much they took away. Don Johnson smoked cigarettes.
Right.
Sonny Crockett smoked cigarettes. Guess what? Sonny Crockett didn't smoke cigarettes in the next one. But they did keep the backstory real. He was still a former Marine. Everything was still lock on. They still had some of the major characters in it. But they had to change Costello when they could have actually brought back the real Costello.
Which they should have done.
Which they should have done. And
you heard what I said earlier about Hollywood.
Yep. And I mean, there's just lots of things you could have done to make it right. The boat was still there.
Except Hollywood won't take a chance. They won't take a chance. They keep rehashing crap.
Well, the boat was still there, but remember Philip Michael Thomas, his character of why am I mind dumping? Ricardo Tubbs.
Right.
His guy was like a playboy, have fun. He wasn't a pilot. He would take flights. He'd go out, have a good time.
Right, exactly. He reveled in the whole thing.
He just loved the life.
Right.
And that's okay. But then they have to make him out to be totally different than what the Ricardo Tubbs character would be. And that, you are right. They will exchange one brother for another. But sometimes that destroys the character because
it absolutely destroys the character. Like I said, Terrence Howard had chemistry with Robert Downey Jr. and Don Cheadle had none.
Right.
None whatsoever.
Right. But I'm not gonna shit on Jamie or the guy who played Tubbs. I'm not gonna shit on either of the actors for that because they did a good job.
Exactly. Right.
And they did have chemistry. But the issue to me is, why is one got to be a pilot now? And that made no sense to me. If they would have, when they did the boat smuggling, they were epic on that. I mean, that's what you would expect from Sonny and Crockett. But now we're flying in drugs, so now he's a pilot now. I mean, It just none of that made sense. I'm
Yeah,
not
they
saying a
ruined
black man can't be a pilot. I'm saying
Well,
it
yeah.
just
Well, see, they ruined everything, right?
they
Well,
ruined
listen, black people are just tools. You know that.
Yeah.
They're just proxy warriors. They can't give them any kind of real credit for doing much of anything. I mean, geez, we give them EBTs and let them smoke that crack. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, I don't mean it in that way.
I know you don't.
The way
No. This is Hollywood. This is how Hollywood.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, if they stay true to the character, I got no beef. But if they would have made Sonny Crockett a pilot, bruh, I would have been pissed at that.
Right.
Exactly,
right? Because it's like, oh, well, you can't have him do that. Well, think about this, like the Punisher. We were just talking about the Punisher, right?
Right.
Do you know what Marvel had did to the Punisher before you got to see what we saw in the movie? They turned him into an angel because they had run out of ideas. They turned the Punisher into a god weapon wielding angel. I kid you not.
You are shitting me.
Right? Then they gave Garth Ennis the story, and Garth Ennis took all that crap. He says, "What are you, stupid? No, he's a Punisher. He shoots criminals. That's the story. What are you, insane?"
Right.
Yeah, and got right back to reality. So there's that one scene. If you read the books with the Punisher, the end of the very first issue, one of the crime guys he lures up to the top of the Empire State Building, takes him up to the top and throws him off. But before he throws him off, he says the world he said New York said to him, "Welcome back, Frank." Frank has his name. Bam! Drops the bastard off the top of the Empire State Building.
That was in the first. Yeah, I did have that. The first Punisher. It's not a comic book. It was a graphic novel.
Right.
And the title of that was "Welcome Back, Frank." Exactly.
Yeah, got it.
And remember, there was a black former Marine that was bodyguarding one of these dudes, and he's like, it's always funny when you hear his thoughts when you see the thought bubble instead of the word bubble, and he's like, this is a decorated Marine, but he's working with this mafia or whatever. He goes, damn shame, as he fucking shoves a knife through his face.
Bloody shame.
Yeah.
Shame. It is a shame.
Yeah, it's a shame that, people get drug into that shit. Yep. But the point is, man, we definitely need to do an entire Punisher series on this.
Oh, well,
and we'll bore the fuck out of these people, and they'll love it by the end of it, because there was Garth Ennis, Tim Bradstreet, remember,
and Steve Dillon, who drew me a picture, actually.
Yeah, Steve Dillon, one of the best. Matter of fact, I got some. Well, we'll talk about that offline. Yeah. One of the best things I ever saw, bro. It was hilarious. There was a video, and it was called "Give My Regards to Bradstreet." Yes. And a lot of people don't realize when the Punisher in the third version came out, there was actually like a Broadway musical kind of thing, where he goes in to fight. Yeah. And it says Brad Street. They didn't realize it's not Broad Street, it's Brad Street. Yeah. And the other homage, and this is something I think everybody should watch. You can find it on YouTube still. They haven't taken it down. There was a video. It's called Dirty Laundry. And it's Frank Castle going to do his laundry. He's not in his uniform or nothing, but there's a prostitute that gets beat up. There's a kid they're about to rape. He goes into a liquor store, and then the fight scene's fucking epic. And then this kid, he's like, hey, mister, thank you, or whatever, and he gives him a shirt, and he goes, you can have this, kid. It's got a hole in it at the end of it. Same kid that about got raped. Yeah. And the kid gets the shirt, and it's a Punisher skull, and there's a hole in it from a bullet.
Right.
That was like OJ throwing his, getting a Coke from that kid and throwing his jersey back in the 70s. Or not OJ, exactly. Mean Joe Green. It wasn't OJ. Right. I just lied.
Here you go, kid.
Here you go, kid. Same kind of thing.
I remember that, brother. Listen, See,
That's a
and
fan-made
this is a part of the
film.
childhood they're trying to destroy from all of us. You understand?
But
We have all these wonderful memories, and these bastards are trying to go back retroactively and destroy them all.
Yeah, but
with their crap.
That was a fan-made film.
Yeah.
Think about that.
What we're saying is all this stuff. We see Hollywood is bankrupt. They're bankrupt of ideas. They keep rehashing crap and destroying all the stuff that was good. We need to stop it. Their money should not be any good here.
Yep. And that's why I don't watch much Hollywood, and I don't watch the
we need to replace
lamestream media.
Hopefully tonight, guys. Hopefully tonight, we're gonna have a guest on the show because the guest canceled on Jaffe. But I'm hoping that the replacement that I got will come on tonight, and everyone's gonna get to find out about new media that will excite you, will entertain you, and it will be new. You'll love it. But you gotta help support it, people.
And it will be on World Pirate Podcast Network.
That's right. That's right. World Broadcast.
That's with Jaffe Ryder on the good ship Robin Hood. And you might even hear the captain, and you might even hear me, or you might even hear Vinny from Brooklyn. Or you could hear any of the other co-hosts. Jaffe's the main host, and he's a good host. Probably one of the best voices in new media. And that's a fact. I've had him on my show. I want to have him on again, just to keep it light and airy. And, you know, I respect him highly. But the point is, I want to thank you all for stopping by today, giving it a listen. Like, comment, share. Thank you, Vinny. It's always a pleasure having you on. Now we have a couple extra shows. And
always great being here.
We may do an entire series just on the fucking Punisher. So get ready, folks. Vinny and I are about to go live. God bless. Be well. Be safe.
Love you all.
Shove out.